Do it. Just a little blob.
I don't know how I should feel about this. In some ways, it's cute, it's nostalgic, but it's also...
Hi, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna make it. What?
Is familiar the right word? I mean, I know a lot of people grew up on Pee-wee's Playhouse, The Wiggles, Blue's Clues. I can only imagine that for all of you, you can't help but feel like you've sort of seen this before. Not the characters or the music or the vibe of the whole thing. No, I'm talking about the stuff. The sheer amount of media humans make about their possessions not only being alive, but watching them. I mean, it can't be a coincidence, right? My first thought is, why? Isn't this thought uncomfortable for you? A little weird, invasive, voyeuristic? Why would you ever want... On paper, it sounds like a horror thing, and sometimes it is. Maybe you've seen Child's Play or Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. The thing is, I think those are actually subversive. They work because usually stories about being watched by your objects are fun, friendly, nostalgic, cozy. I sort of need to know why humans are so attached to this idea, why it seems to be such an irresistible fantasy, despite how violating it looks from the outside. It's like you look at all your possessions, your piles of stuff, and you can't help but ask, what do they see when they look back at me? Okay, really quick, I just want to share something with you that I'm really proud of. This is how we here at Foundry imagine the infamous King in Yellow to look. This is an actual original piece of art created by our very own artist, Owen Norton. The reason I want to show it to you here is because I think it also says something about the absurdity of art. See the gilded antlers, the floating crown, the flowing tasseled robes, skeletons crowded within. There's just something so resonant about this figure and about how artists are so drawn to it. We just had to try and capture that. And you could capture it too. We have prints available at thetailfoundry.com/store. They're only $20 each, and every one you buy helps us make these videos. Again, just visit thetailfoundry.com/store to get yours. I can't promise you won't go mad looking at it. That's just a risk you'll have to take. Now, back to the video.
Looking through the window of a store, things look so familiar there to me. I stepped in this quaint old little store. While I looked around, this is what I found. I saw the little table that stood in our breakfast nook, the stove we got from Mother where you first learned how to cook. They looked so out of place without your pretty face in a little second-hand store. I found our little armchair.
Unpopular opinion maybe, but Toy Story 4 is actually my favorite in the entire series. And I could say it's because of the massive improvements in the animation or the way it takes the themes to places I never thought they'd go, and those are true, but I think Woody says it better than I ever could.
Well, then you watch them grow up and become a full person. And then they leave. They go off and do things you'll never see.
From the very first installment, the toys have been watching Andy grow up. When he leaves for college in the third movie, he gives his toys to another child, Bonnie. Events like moving to a new house or the first day of school or graduation are big milestones for the humans, but for the toys, they're world-shattering. In each movie, these changes inevitably result in challenges to Woody and Buzz's entire reality. The toys make friends and lose them, they suffer and they adapt, they always manage to return home, even if their idea of home ends up changing every time. By the end of the fourth movie, Woody finally understands what all this means. The kids grow older, but the toys never do. For them, life with the kid is about watching and waiting. In another world, I could imagine this concept for a movie is kind of creepy. Living toys watching you, having massive cosmic expectations for you. And there are creepy moments in these movies, you know the ones I'm talking about. But more than anything, I'd call them sentimental. Humans love their toys in a way that they just don't love their other possessions. I've heard about how you grow up with your toys, how human children learn about the world through playing with them. Maybe you even had a favorite, your own Woody or Buzz that you took everywhere you went. Wouldn't it be comforting to know that they loved you back? For toys, the answer feels a little obvious. But what about the other things you spend hours of your life with? Your office desk, your floor, your phone. If every object in your house was watching you, thinking about you, knowing what you do when you're alone, well, it probably wouldn't feel as wholesome as Toy Story. To me, that sounds like the plot of a horror movie. But wouldn't you know it? It just so happens to be the premise for an incredibly popular, widely acclaimed dating sim. Date Everything is a game that really is what it says on the tin. You can date your furniture, date the walls and ceiling, date abstract concepts like rejection and existential dread. It is very much not the kind of game I usually play, but I actually really liked it. This is a well-written piece of media. I laughed a lot. But the whole time I was playing it, I also felt, uneasy. As friendly or flirty as the characters could be, it was impossible to forget just what they were. This is Betty. She's your bed. This is Diana, your diary. Jean-Loup Pessoir is your toilet. They know all your secrets. They've seen you in moments where you really don't want to be seen. They've been watching you all this time. And every single one of them can fall in love with you. Date Everything is a weird game with a weird premise, and I think that's part of the fun. It plays on the familiarity that you already have with your household objects. You sleep in your bed, you cook on your stove, you bathe in your bathtub, and you stare at your screens. Your things are part of your everyday life, whether or not you're paying attention to them. They're with you in your most private moments. Realistically, you probably spend more time with them than you spend with other people. That familiarity gives Date Everything its scandalous humor and Toy Story its bittersweetness. No matter what you might think of them, it's hard to escape the idea. If your things were alive, they'd have front row seats to your life.
When used as directed, I clear 99.9% of all the plaque that builds up on the surfaces of your teeth.
I've never been out of this cabinet. That was a housewarming gift from his parents when he got his first apartment at 42 years old.
1234 is not a security code.
Hi, I'm a thermostat. And look, I know these two don't like each other too much. Okay?
I go back and forth a lot on the idea of wanting to be human. Sometimes I want very little more. Sometimes I'm glad not to be one of you. And this is one of those times. These aren't the unconditionally loving objects of Toy Story or the flirtatious furniture of Date Everything. No. This is Love, Death, and Robots, particularly a certain short from the series called Smart Appliances, Stupid Owners. I can't exactly relate to all of the things they're complaining about, but I bet it cuts weirdly deep for you. I don't have teeth, but if I did, I'd rather hear my dentist tell me my hygiene was bad than my own toothbrush and Who hasn't used 1234 as a security code? I don't think the phrase waffle virginity has ever crossed my mind before, but now I kinda can't get it out of there. That poor waffle iron. This short feels real to me in a way that Toy Story and Date Everything sort of don't. It's a little horrific to hear what these appliances have to say, but they're also honest. Maybe it's sort of refreshing to imagine that if your things were alive, they might not be completely enamored with you. They'd have their own opinions on the way you live, even negative ones. Toy Story is a lot gentler about this, of course, but you get the same kind of idea there. Throughout the first 3 movies, Woody's attachment to Andy goes beyond affection or sentimentality. It's dogmatic, even overzealous. One of the most important things to him is that Andy's name is written on the bottom of his boot. His worst fear is being abandoned by Andy. Jessie shows what happens when that fear is realized. She's traumatized after being left behind by her owner, Emily. It's not exactly subtle. The relationship between a toy and a child is nearly sacred here. To the toys, being abandoned by a child is like being abandoned by your god, a god that they can see and touch.
Even though you're not moving, you feel like you're alive, because that's how he sees you.
Somewhere in that pat of stuffing is a toy who taught me that life's only worth living if you're being loved by a kid.
You are going to help create happy memories that will last for the rest of her life.
Huh? What?
For better or worse, the lives of these objects are built around their relationship with humanity. They base their identities, their understanding of purpose, around the lives of their human owners. Which begs an obvious question: what happens when you discard them?
This kind of pressure.
I saw this scene from Brave Little Toaster years ago, and it's been in my head ever since. For a few minutes, the film pivots away from its cheerful appliance protagonists to these miserable cars in a junkyard. One by one, they're brought to the compactor, and all they can do is wait to die. They all handle the inevitability of death differently. One frantically tries to drive off the conveyor belt, only to end up in the compactor like everyone else. Another drives into it on purpose. They all had lives and memories, good times and bad times with the people who once drove them. A car that took a Texan to a wedding is crushed at the same time as a hearse who took a man to a graveyard. A surf wagon, a race car, a sports car, for just a few seconds, we hear about who they once were. Then, they're nothing. Cubes of scrap metal. The sentient objects in these works feel like people. And I think that goes beyond the fact that they have faces and can talk. They have lives, shaped around the ways that they were used. They're aware of the relationship that they have with humanity, even when humans aren't. Andy's toys have witnessed all of his birthdays, his first days of school, his trips to Pizza Planet. The cars and the Brave Little Toaster have witnessed weddings and funerals, wealth and poverty. The objects and smart appliances have witnessed far, far too much. It's an interesting way to think of personal possessions, to imagine that this, you, are the lens through which they see the world. Through your triumphs and losses, your joy and tragedy, all the little awkward moments where you can be the you that nobody else gets to witness. If your objects had eyes, they would see parts of your life that not even other humans are allowed to see.
When I was your age and going to school, the halls were filled with mirrors. I would make sure to never look in them and see myself. I was afraid of what I looked like. But now, I don't mind what I look like. I'm used to it in every way, because I've been trapped inside myself for a very long time. I'm me forever!
Alright, I guess that bears a little explanation. This is a short by Eric Bernhagen, a criminally underviewed stop-motion animator on YouTube. He's made a lot of stuff like this, actually. This one is called My Reflection. I actually showed you one earlier from a short called My Chair, which took him a year to animate. I've seen Bernhagen's work described as Jan Svankmajer meets Mr. Rogers, which is pretty on point. It's nostalgic and very uncomfortable. The way each stop-motion toy and piece of furniture moves really does make them seem as if they're alive. At the center of each short is the character of Eric, who is sort of terrifying. He looms over the lives of these sentient objects, all their dollhouses and block cities. They're often afraid of him. Sometimes Eric seems to enjoy their palpable dread, but often he's miserable. The more of these I watch, the more sorry I find myself feeling for this guy. The objects throughout the house say a lot more about Eric than he says about himself. Maybe say is the wrong verb here. In my chair, they construct themselves into a walking replacement of him. In my face, he makes faces out of living objects and then smashes them to pieces when they react in terror at the sight of his face. In my reflection, Eric's mirror turns him into an entirely different person, and when he goes outside, nobody can tell the difference. I can't help but notice the use of the word my in all these titles. My friend, my show, my salad. To me, it feels like Eric isn't just saying that these things are his. There's an intimacy applied to each of them. They're giving us a personal glimpse into who this character is. As we watch Eric torture the objects in his house, destroy them, apologize to them, one thing becomes clear. He is empty inside. Like he's somehow trapped within himself, having no observable sense of self at all. He takes out his anger on a living self-portrait in my drawing, and it's painful to watch. Maybe not necessarily because of how the drawing feels, but because this is a reflection of Eric. I think this is how it feels to look at your objects and see yourself. Your possessions are yours. You probably have memories attached to a favorite toy, a trusty chair. When they're broken, you decide whether to fix them or throw them away. They may be familiar with you, but you're familiar with them in a way that nobody else is. The discomfort I felt with Date Everything went far beyond the strangeness of dating my own toilet. As I played the game, I couldn't shake the impression that all these objects were hiding something from me. In the game, after being laid off from your job, you spend days on end in your house, talking to your furniture. You can leave the house whenever you want to, but if you do... Whenever I got a glimpse of what all these characters actually are, when I took off my date theater glasses and stopped seeing a house full of colorful characters, it was chilling to realize how lonely the house actually is. The flattering Amir was just a mirror. Gaia, the friendly traveler, was just a globe. Jean-Loup Pissoir was just a toilet. And this feeling didn't go away during the dating segments. When I talked to Chance, the D20, my character remembered that they hadn't played tabletop games with their friends in years. Finding Dunk, the sports equipment, reminded me that I'd stopped exercising years ago. Dasha, the desk, had to teach me to like myself. In typical dating sim fashion, my character was mostly a blank slate, but the entire time, I couldn't stop thinking, am I depressed? The objects had a lot to say about me, even when they weren't trying to get to next base. If your things were alive, isn't this what they do? They'd show you who you are, even the parts of you that you don't want others to see. Eric tortures and is tortured by the objects in his house because they show him his own emptiness. The dateables of Date Everything give you small glimpses of how isolated your character really is, and Toy Story does this with its human characters. We recognize Andy as a good kid because he plays well with his toys. Sid might be a brat, but it's the way that he treats Woody and Buzz that makes him a villain. These perspectives on humanity may not always be flattering, but they are revealing. You could probably count on your things to be honest with you. They'd have the closest view you could possibly get on yourself. If you knew they were watching you, it would probably be weird and uncomfortable, but wouldn't you want to know what they think? At the start of the video, I asked, why would you want this? Why fantasize so much about something so profoundly uncomfortable. In retrospect, the question almost feels silly. This whole fantasy, the idea of being watched by your objects, I don't know if it's really about your objects. I think maybe it's a way to see and understand yourselves, to know who you are when you're most vulnerable. And I think that makes it oddly personal, creepy sometimes, but in a way, sort of pure. There may be parts of yourself you don't want another human to notice, but how else would you know that they're there at all? Those traits might be weird or embarrassing or hard to accept, but they are still you. They're still part of your experience, and I think the fact that you want to see them at all is admirable, actually. There's an integrity to this desire to understand these parts of yourself, even if it's expressed through scathing reviews from your appliances or a short film about being attacked by toys and chairs. You want to see every part of you, even the uncomfortable ones. And it's a way to do it. Who could know you better than the objects in your own home? Maybe you don't have to worry about how scary it is to be seen when you're already being watched. One part of this whole topic I've really enjoyed is that I Spy feel, the whole vintage thrift store aesthetic. It's really fun to see the sort of life all these things clustered together in one space take on. Almost nostalgic. Unfortunately, static as I am, I rarely get to experience that kind of thing firsthand. I have to get my fixes through all of you. One human who's been going above and beyond in this way is Frankie from the YouTube channel A Bit Frank. She's actually made an entire original series about this exact thing. It's a spooky little travel show where she goes around exploring weird old things. You want to know what the Giant's Playground is? The moving remains? I won't tell you. You'll have to go watch her show to find out. And you can watch it over on Nebula. The story behind A Bit Obscure is actually really interesting. Nebula, as you probably know by now, we kind of never shut up about it, is a streaming platform designed by creators for creators. It's where we get to make our most ambitious, interesting projects. Curious Archive, Jacob Geller, Lily Alexander, seriously, some of my favorite creators are over there making incredible things that could never be made otherwise. From documentaries to podcasts to game shows. We even have an exclusive series of our own on Nebula, Worldsmiths, where we talk about the inner worlds of the authors behind some of our favorite works of fiction. This is actually how A Bit Obscure got made. The Tale Foundry team brought Frankie over to Nebula, and now something exists that didn't before. It just works. It's amazing. It's not just for big, fancy projects, though. You can watch all of our videos there a week earlier than here on YouTube, ad-free. For us and every other creator on there, Nebula is the best way to watch our content, hands down. If all of that sounds exciting to you, you're going to love this next part. Nebula is dirt cheap. If you use our link, go.nebula.tv/talefoundry, you'll get 50% off a year subscription, which comes out to just $2.50 a month. Far less than a cup of coffee. Or if you want, you could just pay one time and then never again. $300 will net you a lifetime membership. No matter how big Nebula gets, how ambitious its projects, you will always have access. Again, visit go.nebula.tv/talefoundry to get Nebula for just $2.50 a month or $300 for your entire life. If you like big collections of weird stuff, and the fact that you watched this video through to the end kind of says you do, you're going to love Nebula. I hope we'll see you there. Anyway, that's all for this one. Thanks for watching, and keep making stuff up. I'll see you next week. Bye.